Hello everyone. So we are now we're going to start with our next project, and before starting that project, I think we got a great feedback and encouraging feedback and suggestions also from our community members, right? So one of the suggestions which came was like, in case someone wants to start from in between, it becomes a bit of a confusion to because everything is interlinked. These all tiled and the different apps are in the same folder, and they cannot start from in between. So I think somewhat I agree, right, that yes, it's tough, but then I thought of what can be the solution is that we can have one is a separate app, right? And we can also, these views are independent. You can copy these views in your local uh, project templates, and you can work with them, right? And you can have separate apps also, right? So I thought of maybe let's try a separate app, right? And normally when we launch our apps in via Fury Launchpad, we can do an app to app navigation, right? Because we have the Launchpad support this app to app navigation, but here in this case we can, to keep things simple, we will try to open that another running app also. Okay, we'll see how do we do it, and once we are done with it, then we will start with our new app. Basically we'll first, what we'll do is we'll create a new app which we want to build today. We'll not create it, we'll just create that template. We'll add it as a tile, and we'll try to call it, right? Once that is done, and then we'll start building our app. So what app we are going to build is still let's keep it so-called secret but we'll reveal it soon. Okay, so we have this localhost stuff, right? And it is already running. We have these three tiles, and these tiles are being rendered from this view, this one tiles view, and we have a tiles controller which is kind of, let me hide this beneath one, which is basically routing it. Now what I will do is, in order to call my external app, so what we will do is, we will, rather than using the route, we will use the kind of what we call it as a URL. Okay, so we'll have two apps running in parallel. One is this home app and another app, and then this app will call that app. So that's how I plan to do, and that's how we'll try to call it. Okay, so first is maybe let's add that tile. So I will keep it as a fourth app as of now. We'll change it later. And for our external navigation, what we can do is we can have something like a route as beginning with ex hyphen, okay, or ext hyphen, and this we will try to read in our app. If the first four characters are ext hyphen, then we'll do something else. Okay, so now we go to our tiles controller, and we will try to, so let's just open a debugger here, and I'll go to sources, controller, tiles controller, and if I just click here, so O route is definitely has the value, right? So we'll say dot substring, and what do we want? We want it start at 0 and at 4, I think. Yes, so if it contains ext, then we'll call that, right? So what we see is, if this calls ext hyphen, meaning it is an external route. Bear in mind, if this would have been in a launchpad, we would have used another mechanism, but now since we don't have a launchpad, so we are using what we call in our Indian terminology as a jugaad to get around things. to make it work, right? If it is an internal one, it will not have ext hyphens, it will work, and if it is an external one, we'll do something else. Okay, so what we will do in this case is, okay, then if this is this, what is the route like, right? So maybe what we can do is we can add one more field here, which is URL. Okay, so whatever URL we will maintain here, it will automatically call that. Let's say if we say that URL is, for naming it is google.com, right? So we will read this from our model and then try to do something. Okay, so now if I open this and if I click here, so okay, we have got this. Now if we will need to find this value, right? So we say this dot get view dot get model. I think this model name is what, tiles, right? So we say tiles dot get JSON, and we'll have JSON dot parse, basically because it's a string, so I'm parsing it and I get this, right? Now I need to find this route, right? So what I can do is dot find predicate, so I can have route, I can have route is not a function, you need to pass a function. Hold on. Yeah, I think it is expecting this as a function where I have passed a route. Once again, whenever you get stuck, so the easiest way out is do a JavaScript array find, and I either go to this or W3 schools, and you just scroll down. This is a ages is an array. Okay, there's a function. Let's create a function. Okay, so what we will do is not like this. We will say item. Item is, it refers to each element of an array. Okay, so which means this is like there are four ones, so it refers to each one. And if I say let me make it clear and a bit bigger so that it's readable to you also, right? So let me maximize it and bring it here. So I say if item dot route, I believe the field is route, yes. So if item dot route is equal to route, which is the when we pass click on fourth up, that is the route which is passed. So then I say you return the item, right? And that's it. And then this is for this 3. So we have fourth up, title and everything, right? This is the one. So now we have this value, and let's just close it. So maybe I just reuse this, and I say JSON.parse return item to let maybe something like let selected item is equal to this, right? And then okay, that's okay. And then I say how do I navigate, right? So now if I go to SAPUI5, and that's where we learn something new. So in order to navigate to a new place, I think you have something called as URL helper, this one, right? So this can trigger can be this. Yes, this is a new namespace which you can use to kind of trigger what do we call email, SMS, phone, or from the browsers, right? And it can also call the new URL also. For example, if I just use it sap.m.url helper, and but how do I, so email redirect event, detach, normalize, SMS, telephone, redirect. Yes, URL redirects to a given URL, right? We want to go to a new URL, which is nothing but our another project which is running separately, so that you can build on your own. And we call it as what do we call it as URL helper dot which method redirect to cell item dot URL is a field. Yes, right? So I just say this and I say I close this. I hope it works. I don't know. So let's see. Fourth app. You see it works, right? So now we can navigate to URL also. We can navigate internally also. So at least I think it was. Now we can have a separate project also. So one thing which we learned till now is that we can have, how do we use a substring, and then how do we can call an external URLs. Even we can use this for email, for SMS also. For example, let's say if I just hard code it, I'm just trying to show you an example, right? If I just say normalize email, what parameters it has, I don't know. So it has an email, subject, body. So I just say, suppose no, let's just say not email, we'll use something like SMS is okay. So if I say normalize SMS, so it has a telephone number, so I say +91 1231, right? And if I just go back and so if I just click here, I don't know what has happened now. As console, let's see what is the problem. So if I just say click on here, it comes here, it does something, but we are not able to see, of course, right? And but normally it allows you a pop-up or something. For example, let's see if we have some examples also, because there we can see it working. So if I just say URL helper, yeah, here it is. So if I just say click on SMS, yeah, it says pick an app, okay, and this one says email, it opens up an email, which is okay. Why is in our case it is not doing it? Let's just see. So if I go to SMS and handle SMS press, handle URL trigger SMS, normalize, oh I will have to use this. And if I just now do it, hold on, let it reload, and if I just click now, yeah, very good. So we used a different functions, and let's just look at it. Documentation, API reference, and URL helper. No, please. Yeah, I use a different one. Builds email. It builds an email, or it it returns a unique resource identifier. So rather than that, I should have used trigger email and trigger SMS. But anyways, so at least we understood this, and I think we are good. So let me just comment it and uncomment this part. We are all good. Let me close this, and maybe let's make it a bit smaller, right? So let's me just make this debugger go away. So let me make this also like this, and this a bit bigger. Okay, so we are good with this now, as requested. So what we'll do is we'll create another project, and now in creating this project, I was thinking maybe we can learn something new. Okay, so what something I wanted to learn was we can have a local JSON files containing that data, or we can have a real-time data coming from the APIs. But I thought of, why don't we make our an API learn to make an API in Postman, right? So we set up a mock server in our Postman. So if you go here, because Postman, for anyone and everyone, it is like for those who are new to it, it helps us in testing the endpoints, as well as now it is each and every day they are adding new features. That is where you can now you can build your APIs also with the test one, right? So for example, here it says mock, because we want to build a mock server, right? So okay, so let me just break the suspense and what we are planning to build. Okay, so these days I think I am in those parts of India, which is a northern part of India, and during this time we have a lot of smog and fog because of stubble and all, right? So I thought of, why can't we have build something related to something like a pollution tracker, right? And that pollution tracker can of course show data from the live APIs, right? We have them, but I thought of, even those APIs, let's build it from something which we can reuse in our other projects also, rather than having a JSON model also, or something, or a mock server in SAPUI5. Let's try to run something new also. So maybe build those mock server in our Postman, and then so we learned Postman, we learned URL, but what else we want to learn in SAPUI5? So what we'll do is, we will build that app using a new control, because that is what our aim has been, to learn new control in our each and every app. So what that new control I have thought of is a flexible not here simple flexible column layout. So this is, if you remember earlier, we had a split app container, right, where you have master and details, right? Now it is like we have it is based on same, but we can have now 3 columns. So I'll show you. So for example, right now you have 2, right? And let's make it full screen. Not this one, this one. So now, for example, if I close this is initially how your app loads, right? And then you can click here. Now it opens the second one. It shows the product differentiation, then there is suppliers. So this is something new which we haven't covered till now. And this is also a new layout which we'll cover. This is called as object layout, and inside it, if you click here, you see this another one opens. So this is a 3 column layout. So whereas in our split container we had 2, now here we have 3. So it's like 3 independent containers arranged as columns, and these widths are more like adjustable, like this, right? And even you can hide them. So what we will learn is, one is how to make those APIs in Postman, right? And then we'll consume them here, and we'll make a pollution tracker. So we'll have something like a what do we have? We can have something like an API which shows pollution, average pollution, average pollution. Let's have it an average pollution tracker, average pollution at countries level here, right? Something like this. If you click here, it shows you some general information about the country, its population, its area and all, and then beneath it shows all the states, right? Once you click on those states, you get all the districts details. That okay, district wide, this is the pollution level, state level, so basically like a 3 kind of a drill down. Now I could have used again the same example, PO, purchase order items, then purchase order items, you click and then you go to different other details and all, item level partners and all, right? So it's a similar line, but I purposely don't want to bring in the gateway and all that stuff, because we want to make everything without having much trouble in setting up the things. So I hope now it makes sense. So as a first step, let's first change the description of our tiles to pollution tracker, okay, and this will replace it when we'll run it. So what we'll do is, I'll just open this and I'll say let's split it, and how do we run? We say yo, right? Let me close this for the time being. Save, yes, save, and I say open panel left, right, move panel left. Okay, let's make it a bit bigger. Okay, so we are going to choose easy UI5, right? And this project is our pollution tracker. com.te is our namespace. It's a static web server, XML, main view. In this we'll have only, I think, we'll try to keep it reusable. So main view, we want to use local resources. Would you like to create a new directory? I say yes. So we have a new directory. So I hope now you can easily work on this and get your things done. Let it reinstall. It is basically running all these different commands, and then we will try to run it so that we'll see how it works. So, and this also, this one I make it like this and this. It's installing all different things, which is okay. And one of our server is already running on local static web 8080 port. Okay, so we are done, we are good, and we just go to F2, and I say we go to this, and this time we'll use directly the UI5 command and UI5 serve. But let me first go to this once again. So if I just say cd this, okay, we are inside. Now UI5 serve minus h is a help, right? And I want to serve to a different port, so I can use this command minus port, because 8080 is already running, right? So I'll just say cls serve minus port 8081, and I say enter. We have some error. So that error says it's not able to find the ui5.yaml here. Why? Because it is inside UI module, so I need to give that path. So I'll just say minus config dot UI module ui5.yaml. Let's hope it works now. Why? Address already in 35729. Okay, because let's look at our YAML file. So it is okay. So let me just first hide it. So it is already using projects is already using this for 35729. And here in our UI5 YAML file for middleware we are still having 35729. It is for live reload. So if I just say 728 now, okay, that okay, you use a different port, and I close, maybe let's make it big. I close this and I make it a bit bigger, and I say cls. Let's try to run again. I hope it shall run. See, so we have our app which is running at 8081. So if I just click here 8081, it shall load our app. Pollution tracker, very good, looks fine, we have it loaded. So, and here also what we will do is in our module tiles.json, we will say we don't need a URL as google.com, we need this, and I can hide this now, right? And we can have it as perfectly working. So this is now updated, and so if I click, let's just close this. If I click here, it loads my pollution tracker. Very good. At least we have that navigation in place that is working. Now I think it's the time where we set up our mock server APIs. So as a first step, let's start with the setting up our mock server, that is we'll use Postman. That's very quick and easy way to do. So here is my Postman. It's an app, you can download it on your Windows, Mac, right? And important thing is, in order to use this mock server, you need to be logged in, right? And I have also logged in, so you should also be logged in. And the moment you log in, you also get here a launchpad like we have in our Fury. So you can create a request, create a collection, create an environment, create an API, create a mock server. We'll create this. So collection is like a group of similar kind of requests. For example, all the requests related to a purchase order. So you can have that as under a collection, which will appear on this left hand side. So maybe since I don't have anything, I'll create this and we'll say countries, and response code is this. What do we want to give it in response? For example, I want to say we provide a country. For example, it's India, and then it's an object. We are creating an array of objects. EQI is air quality index, so I'm taking it as something like 200. Of course, I want it to be less than 50 for the whole world, which is the best air to breathe, but you know that how things are today. And then I copy this, right? And we have let's have Germany, right? And let's also have something like 200. These are arbitrary numbers. These are just for examples, I'm taking them. So there's nothing specific. Okay, hold on. So country is Germany, not India. So I will say Germany, and AQI is 200, right? And then let's have USA, and let's have do it as 205.1 something, or 205, it's okay. And then we have 190 for maybe Switzerland, and then have something like 180 for something like Canada. Okay, so these are just dummy responses whenever we Canada, and we have this, and I say next. So it will be pollution data mock server. I say you save this as a URL, and in case you don't want to allow other people also to use it, you can have keep this mock server as private, and then you'll have to use an API key also in the URL to get this. So you say just create mock server, you say this, it's already there. I just copy this URL, I say close. So we already have this collection under which we have a get countries request. Okay, and so we have this environment variable, because if you remember, once I was creating, it says whether you want to store this value in a URL, and I have stored it, and this is where it is showing me. So you can also create a new environment, and you can use different global variables which you want to use. So now if I query this, right now the response is on right hand side, it is this. You can also change it using this up and down, but I like it left and right. So I just say send, and it shows me. So maybe I can have it's a JSON. So we have this. So very simple. We have our countries APIs, right, up and running, and in the same way I can have something like I can add more APIs and more stuff to it. So now we have got our countries response, right? So now this like we'll do is we'll copy this, and I can have state question mark and country is equal to India. So it's like a filter, and I say save inside the pollution data, and it's India states country, India states state-wise. AQI is the name of the request, and just save to the pollution data collection, and I say save, and now there is no example response. Okay, so what I can do is, maybe I first go here, I copy this, I can come here, and I can just click here. So if in case I get this kind of response and this kind of query, I need to respond with something like state. Okay, and start with Punjab under 90, and then you have Haryana 200, then you have, these are all states in India which we have. So Karnataka, and let's make it Maharashtra, and then what do we add? So let's add Himachal Pradesh. Okay, so in case you make this query, you'll get this kind of response. So if I just go back and I just make this query, so I get this response and I can view it in a JSON. Perfect, right? And now in case, for example, I have let me close this. I make, for example, request is test. I'm just showing you in case you have a different country, test state-wise, test state-wise AQI, right? And I save to pollution data, and I will add a sample response. And in this case, for example, I want something like let's make it one just to test it. It will show us two different response for two different filters, right? So I just close it, I close it, and I just click here India state wise. I say send, get request to send. It gives me Punjab, Himachal. If I just go to test, it gives me Punjab. So this filter also work, right? Now this looks pretty okay. So now what is next we want? Next is we want as maybe if I just delete this, so you can have these options. So I think I would recommend everyone to install Postman if you have not, and try to get comfortable with it. So now we have got state. Now let's go to district level. Okay, and state is, for example, Punjab, right? And I copy this and I save this. This is Punjab district wise air quality index, right? And it's again in pollution data. I add an example response. Even you can have a response code as 200. Okay, and I can have here something like Patiala. It's my native place district, and then you have Mohali, and then you have Amritsar, Bhatinda, Jalandhar, right? And I just save this example. So in case now you make a query to this filter, then it will, I think I can also add here country, question mark, country is equal to India, and state is equal to Punjab. This is what the query is, and let's look at the example. We will have this one here. This is what we need for this, right? So I close this, I close this, I close this. So this has now one example. For this query I return this. Okay, very good. And now maybe I can just copy this, duplicate, and I rename it to Haryana district wise, and here we have Haryana, and I say save. So now the response has to be example 1. So this is Haryana. We'll have Ambala, and then you have Gurgaon, then you have Rohtak, then what else, which all we have Kurukshetra, Panipat. So these are like different state, different districts, right? So now I just close it. Now if you send this request, it shows you Patiala. Why? So let's look at here. This is already saved. Okay, because here it is not Haryana. Let me add Haryana here, and then I save, I close all, and in fact I close this also. Let's go to countries. I get all countries, very good, right? State wise of India, I get state wise, right? These are the different state. Then I want to get Punjab district wise, then you have this, and then I want to get Haryana district wise. Then oh man, so let me just remove once again. Let me just copy this, okay, and I just close this, and I just delete it, save, and I just then add an example to it, and I just say save, right? And then if I just close, I hope it works now. I don't know why it is not taking this. I think it is right. Why do I have it like this? I can remove this space, save. I can remove this space, save. I hope to see something else. Yeah, now it is fine. Something like related to cache issues, I don't know, but now it is working fine. So we have our all APIs ready. So I just say close all, and if I let me just quickly note down this pollution data. I go to this, I click here, so this is the one, right? And then if I just go here and say give me countries, we have the countries, right? And same way you can run everything. So I think this is, so we have our dummy API smoke server data ready. Time now to start building our fourth app, sorry, which is pollution tracker, and we will be using here the flexible column layout, right? So if I just go inside, and maybe the setup is the same, we'll just start with it, and before I actually start building the app now, there was one feedback also to cover the testing stuff, right? How do we do the testing in our the OPA test and the unit testing and integration testing in our app? That also I plan to cover via one of our cover as one of our different project, which we will, I don't know when, but it will be one of these 10 projects. So let's begin our app. So let's just look at what all we have in the view. So the view has mm, let me make this little bit small. The view has is using a typical app control inside it pages, but what we will do is we will use another control which is flexible column layout, right? So for that, what we'll do is let me just remove this, and we'll have flexible uh, column uh, layout. Okay, and then we have this. Okay. And since this flexible column layout is part of what do we call it as our, let me make this bit big, this bit small, so that we are able to see everything, right? Not this. This much is fine to start with, and let me give it some ID, something like what do we call it? It is pollution map. So let this be a pollution tracker, right? And then I say is uh, so this is a part of different library which is SAPUI5. So we have added it, right? Now, if I just press save, and then uh, let's just see what happens here. So it's a blank one, but you see this, there is an error which has come, that failed to load this flexible column layout. Why? uh, because we, although we are using this, but locally we have not added it to the, what do we call it, to the whole project, right? So how do we do it is, I'll just press not this, I'll just press Control J. Here it is running, so let me just 81 as a port, and I will say UI5, right, as SAP.f. So what it will does is, okay, before that, let me open this. So you see here in UI5.yaml under web app, where we have all the libraries which we need, there is no SAP.f. So that's how we are planning to add. So what I will do is, let me make it big, then it will be a bit better for you, right? And open this. So I will say UI5 add SAP.f, and we need to provide the path to the CML file, so that while adding it will add it as a library to the CML file. So I'll say this file location is dot slash UI module slash UI5 dot YAML. So now you see this, it is already now added, right? So now if I run npm UI5, um, so along this port, now it shall be working fine. So let me just hide it, right? And let me make it this way. I will have this here, make it a bit bigger, and if I just, so certainly these are not on from those ones, right? So which is okay. So let's just so we have these three errors, right, which is okay. No flexible column one, so which is perfectly fine. I'll just close it. So now what we have done is we have added it as a dependency in our YAML file, along with we have added it here. Uh, but we need to also have, we are not going to use the mobile routing, so I will just delete it, because flexible column uses a similar kind of a router, but that's uh, that's uh, that's that's SAP.f router. We'll come to it. So for the timing, I'll just say this is my view name, this is my ID, and all that stuff, right? So far it looks all fine, and we are all good. Okay. Now what I am planning to do is that in this first tab which will load, we'll have all the country level pollution, right, where we have created at this URL that okay, in India it is this much, in Germany it is this much, all those fixtures figure. So it will be loaded on the first page, right? So in order to do that, what I will do is I will create another view. So uh, I have added this view, right, which is master view, and I'm using mobile library flexible one and this, and then I've added we are using a dynamic page control, right? So it will be adding it to the main view, and then it has a title country wise population, not population, and then I have a table, right, where I have two columns, country, and then I have added those two fields, and there's a navigation. We'll talk about navigation. First is the target is to populate this. So we have a model countries, right? We have not created so far, and we'll do that as a next step. So it's a view which is simple list, right, or a table where you'll have scrolling list, right? So what I will do is I will have a new file. It will be master dot controller dot js, right? Let me check here. Yeah, it is correct. So in master controller JS, let me take it from here to here, right? And let me just adjust this. So what we will do here is we'll have our call happening, right? The model will fetch the data and will set everything here. So what I will do is that quickly let's get. So once this controller loads, we'll have this country's URL which is pointing towards our Postman server local dummy mockup one. It will call that and it will set this module, right? So which is okay, and so our view also is fine. We have master view which will be now. We have not set one thing is so we have not added the call of this master view which we have defined. So we will add that. So now automatically in under begin column pages aggregation, it will start loading our master view. Uh, so JSON model is not defined. So what I will do is let me add it as a dependency here. Uh, and now I think it shall work, right? So let me just bring this up. Yeah. So we have India, Germany, uh, the USA, Switzerland, Canada, the different countries, and their corresponding pollution air quality index, and same we see it in our country, India, and this, right? Now, important thing is in this case, as of now, another thing which I would like to highlight is that I have added because it was a generated one, so I have added this style in the index.html as well as this, right, so that it is displayed. Because if I remove this, right, and then you see that this is not displayed. Why? Because it is somewhere here. Okay, so it is somewhere here, the data is there. You can cross validate the network calls. If we go to countries, it is being called. So all I need to do is just add it again, and then it shall come back again. Yeah, so this is a heads up because I have directly using this flexible controls. We need to have this. Okay, so now we have this, and what do you do next is once you click on this, you see this navigation is coming. Why? Because I have defined it as a type of a kind of a navigation, right? And then once you click on it, you see this is a type as a navigation. So if I click on it, nothing is happening. So ideally what shall happen in this case is if I click on it, we should let's say we have India or Germany or any country. For example, if we click on India, then it shall show us its different states and SS air quality, right? So what do we do is now is we will now slowly, we will, because so far we have used only begin column pages, the first one. Now we'll use mid. You click on the country, you get state level data, then you click on state, you get the other data. Okay, the what we call it as a district level data. So now let's start with having the second part, which is to once you click on this country, you should get the state level detail. So for that, what we will do is let's first define another view, and let's call it as a detail dot view dot XML. Okay, and I'm just copying the master view to detail view, but I'll remove most of the parts because we'll start from something like 0, right? So we have this empty view, which is detail 1. Let me add a controller also, so which is detail dot controller dot js, right? And maybe let's also bring in this data and copy the from master the template, the basic template. JSON model we'll need because we'll make another call. Okay, and I'll change this to detail. Okay, and this path I think is will somehow pass the things from master, which is the countries, whichever country is clicked will pass it to here, and then somehow we'll try to bring the data for that country. Okay, so somehow what we want to do now is that uh, once I click on it, right, then it shall call my second view, which is as of now is a blank one detail view. Detail controller has this copy of the first one. So what shall we do is, first of all, once you click on this, so what we want is that we want an event to be trigger. So let's have it like I want which method we call on country press. Let's call it this, right? And the same I will define in my controller on country press function event uh, event, and then I say this, right? And so somehow it shall call the second page, right? So how do we call it as for now what we'll do is we will convert this single page, this one which we have is uh, this one, right? That somehow it gets divided into two parts. So we'll have one block which will show country, another block will be the second view. That's why it is flexible column layout. So let's try to see how it works, right? So for that, what we have is there is another control flexible one which we have to add, which is library, right? Your library, and what we do is once you press something, right? This one. So all we do is I say. You get the reference, and then you set the layout type to two columns mid expanded. So basically initially this is one column, and once you click on something it becomes two column. So how do we do it is, let me just press save here, and let me make it a little bit bigger, and I reload it so that it is clear how it works. We'll just try to debug it. Okay, so I put a breakpoint here, I do a refresh. Mm. And now once I click here, right, so let's see what does this dot get view and that parent returns. Okay, so we come here, so it returns that that flexible control layout, the FCL one which we have defined. Where we have defined it is if you look at main view, this is the one, pollution, right? And if you look at it, what is the ID it is showing? It is showing ID app control. If you remember this, where this was, this ID we have given it in where we have given it as in manifest.json in the root one, this one. So it combines it, right? So now we have the reference of that that control, flexible control. So all I say is I set its layout dynamically to Fiori library dot layout type. If you look at it, there are, let's just look at this also. Okay, so if I go here and if I just say this, so you have one column which is V by default, And then you have mid column full screen, mid two column big and expanded, mid expanded, different one, right? You can have all three also. The three column, each column is acting as a view, master detail and another detail. Okay, for us it will be country, country, then states, then district. Three different views under one page, right? So now, so let's see what happens now. So if I say this, let me make it a bit smaller, and if I just say this, you see this? This is our detail view which is being loaded. So this is not detail view, it is just expanding, it is empty as of now. Where is, because I have not added or have I added the detail view? Just let me, I forgot. So because we only added begin column pages, we have not added any end column pages, right? So mid column pages. So what we'll do is we'll add that, okay, the mid column page shall have detail view, right? And as of now it is showing empty because our detail view is also empty, right? Earlier it was no view, now it will load a detail view. And in case I want to see something here, what I will do is, for the timing, let's just copy the same one. You click on it, it opens the same view in a like countries and countries. Later we will, okay, just I'll see, let it be state wise relation. Okay, so just to differentiate. Okay, and main view save, right? And now let's see how it looks. So if I just say, okay, this is very good. If I click here, it calls the second one. You see this state wise, right? And if I make this three column, this one, then it will be another one which I can have district wise, right? So what we will do is now is, I think um, we are we are now our page is being loaded. Then we can also load, similar way we can use the aggregation and column pages and load the next view which is a district wise. But somewhere this is like hard coding the views. It should be like based on kind of like we do it in routing. Whatever is the hash, it will automatically route it and fill this space dynamically, right? So let's now make it more dynamic and bring in the next level, and we will also add call to our states then to districts. So you want something like a dynamic one, and how do we have it is, it will use a similar concept as we used in our hash page routing. We'll have a hash page routing, but we need to have a different control because it is like on the same page we have three different views being coming, right? They are like acting as a three different columns. So that's where we need to add a custom router, right? So SAP, this flexible column layout control has its own router, and we will try to add that. Okay, and let me just quickly add the router and then maybe we can discuss it, right? So there's nothing unique, you add it in a very same way, right? So you have a router, right, which is like from a flexible class, this library, right? And then you have tell where is the view path, control ID, pollution. This is here is a flexible column layout ID pollution, which we need to mention. And then you define two patterns. One is uh, a single one where you have master one, right? And then there is a detail one where you are basically you want to pass which country is selected and what layout. So you'll see in hash page routing that you'll have the country selected, for example India, and then the what layout, single column, mid, expanded, because these parameters need to be passed so that we can dynamically control it, right? And then you define the targets, which are nothing but master is referring to master view, detail is referring to detail view. You see this, the same aggregation which we have this here, right? So now you have this, right? So what does it mean? It means you don't need something like this here, right? So what we will do is I'll remove this, and we'll bring in something very different this time. So what do we bring in is, so we have now an empty one, right? So let me just open a new tab to show you. So I go to SAPUI5, I go to API reference, I go to flexible column layout. We are opening our control. Okay, so if you look at the properties, right, it has this control has a property named layout. So you can, if you can change this property dynamically, so you change the layout. Okay, now what kind of layouts which are there? One column, which is like single AAA. Two column big and expanded, so this one is expanded, and then this is how. Two column mid expanded, right? And then mid column fully screen. So these are like, you can check how different kinds of layouts you need. So these are like different kind of layouts which you have. So we'll have, one thing is for sure, that if we can control this property, right, then you can control the layout. So right now, if you look at the code, where we are controlling it is in main controller, not in main, in master controller. We are first reading the control, which is pollution one, and then we are setting its layout type. So rather than, on click, we'll do it on click, but we will do it via routing. Okay, so that's first thing. Okay, and second is another thing which I wanted to show was state change event. So this is whenever this layout property will change, whenever you will make things small, and you will make things mm, uh, you'll open it on a desktop, laptop, will make it small, then it will this layout property will automatically change, right? And this event will trigger, and we will control the layout based on it. So if you look at the code, uh, uh, now let me save this, and I go to my main view. So now we have on state changed event, right? That whenever the state will change, I want something to happen, and there's what we call it. Uh, there is a layout property which is also we have added it as a dynamic one, right? Now, what we'll need to do is, before this is that we have added the router. So once the router is added, if you remember, in component.js we used to initialize it, which is not done till now, right? So let me quickly initialize our router, and then we'll see what we are trying to do. Okay. uh, so we say that, okay, first of all, you get the router, you initialize it. We understand that, right? But once you initialize it, you add a callback also, this method. And what it does is that it checks if there is no layout, right? There is no layout once from the route, then it by default sets which one? The single layout, and this is for availability, which is pretty simple, right? And then we also have a default model. What is the default model? Which is we are setting it as a component level, right? So which means it is available globally across different views, and we are setting its property here, right? We are reading it. So that's how we are doing it in at a more at a what do we call it, as a component level, that globally we have this router initialized, number one. Number two, we have model also initialized, which take care of this layout property which is available across the views, and then we have this event also, right? So I think till now it might sound confusing, but don't worry, we'll get to know everything. So let me just quickly look at things again. You add the router, you define your views, master, layout, and then detail one, and then you define the targets along with aggregation. Then you go to the parent view, okay, and you say that, okay, rather than hard coding the views, I say these will be coming dynamically. Okay, so our main view, we have these two methods, and we'll define them in our main controller, right? So I go to our main controller, which is here, right? And let me quickly bring stuff so that we are aware what is happening. So what I say is that, okay, when you initialize, you get the component. On this component control reference, you read the router, and you again have a callback for route match. So what you do now is you read, because this my main view is main controller is like the composite control, or is like a container inside which every view will get loaded. So you read what route is, current route is, via how, via those route parameters which we have, and then you store them. For example, I've stored it as what is a chosen route name and what is a country name, right? And and then Then of course, on in case something changes, then we basically call our router and we pass the whatever is the chosen value, we pass it that this is a chosen country. Okay, and then on exit we are detaching it. Simple. So this app file main controller has one is it is storing, it is remembering where we are, right? And then based on state change, it navigates with those correct parameters. So moving on now we already have our parent set, our route set, but in our if you look at our master controller, we are still doing, we are not passing any parameters or anything, right? So this needs to change. So what shall we do is like rather than hard coding it, or rather than just reading the state current state and then changing that layout, what we do is we basically first get from where what country it is clicked, right, by using the context, and then you say that okay, then you go to this dodo router, navigate to which route detail, you pass that layout type, which is now because we are navigating from master to detail, so we need is like something like two columns, and whatever is the country value we pass it, right? It's very same, it's very simple, it's straightforward, it's nothing different, similar to how do we do a normal routing, right? Now guess what, so once you are into the detail, what you will do is you will read that route, read that parameters, attach a callback, and then basically try to call your state level data, right? So let me quickly get that also. So now so now what we do is we get the router, we read the model parent one, the slash layout, then we attach whether it is master route, detail route. I want this one to be called on selecting country. In country we read the country, then I call the basically states. This is a different one, right? I pass the dynamically the country which is selected and which is being passed from master.controller. Here we are passing the country, right? And then the moment it is passed to it, you set the model as states. Now if you remember in our detail view, we still have countries as model, right? So because we copied it from master, so let's just quickly adapt this last thing, right? And so now we have is same table, but the let's rename it to states, and we have state and model is states, right? Because we have these two fields, uh, state and EQI, right? So let me just save it. I hope I have saved everything. No, what is pending? Uh, so let's see, this is saved. I'm just closing the things which are saved. Okay, main controller is not saved, is not saved. Okay, so I think we are good, and I hope it's a power pack thing, but it's okay. We'll see through it, and let's see how it goes. So there's no error, which is very good. And let's do one thing is in our main controller, uh, we will not in component, in our main controller, once I click something, right? I not in main, it is master controller. So I go to my master controller, there's a breakpoint. So if I click here, so now if I just read this, country is India, right? So it will now pass to which, it will pass to a detail, it will call a detail route, and which will load the another view. So look at this, let's keep a close eye here. Earlier it was always used to be index.html. Now you see this, there's a detail which is our this, then country, and then two columns expanded. And wow, this is also changed, Punjab, Haryana, Karnataka, and this, right? And if you look at here, it is Punjab, Haryana, Karnataka, and this, right? Very similar, same, in fact correct one. So maybe just to summarize things up, how what we have done so far is, let me open a new bin. So we defined the router in manifest.json, okay, and then we say that, okay, now if the router is added, then in component container we initialize it, right? uh, I think if we write it down, then it becomes easy for everyone, and along with it we have a global model, right? So we have a global model also defined. So then what we do is, in our app view, which is a parent one, we removed hard-coded stuff, right? And added layout and state change stuff. And then in our master one, we change the we use the router hash base navigation, right? And then in um, detail one, on load, we read the route and call the states. So that's what we have accomplished so far. Let me not save it, else it will trigger again, right? Now, what is left? All that is left is to add another view, which is like, once you choose Punjab, what shall happen? And what do you expect? The same thing, right? We'll have one state press, and on that we'll have another route, which we'll call, and then on another view. So maybe let's not waste further time. So let's first create a new view, which is let me call it as so we have countries inside have states have cities. So we say uh, mm, city dot view dot XML, okay, and also we create a new controller, city dot con mm, dot controller dot JS, right? And let me, for the timing, copy the uh, detail code inside city controller and just change it to city, right? And copy the detail view, because it is also going to be another table, and let's call this table as something like city-wise pollution, and ID is city, and mapping should be to cities, right? And city AQI, then on we shall have on this will not have a navigation, because this is the last one. We don't want to move into a next one, so I'll just say delete, right? And this is the model we are planning to name as cities. So cities and cities, right? And if I look at the city, so we have something like state. We have named the city as state, so let's keep it as states, which is okay, and AQI. So let's, I think these are the two views which we want. So let's start making small changes. Is like, first of all, we want to have a new route, right, which is to city, because that's how we will, you know, move towards next one, right? So what we will do is we'll add another route, okay, and that route will be like let's have another uh, mm, route in place, right? And we will call that route as um, here. Wow, sometimes. So let's call that route as something like detail is country. Then layout, of course, we need that, whether it is single, mid, or both, or or three column expanded. So we have added now another parameter state as parameter and then layout at the end. So, okay, so it will be like in our for example right now if you see in our URL we have detail country then layout, it will be detail then country then state and then it will have a layout. Okay, so we have defined a new route target which is city. So let's add this city now as a target and we call it as city. Our view name is city and this will fit into which aggregation because there are three aggregation flexible. We have uh, begin, mid and end. So this will be the in end. So let's have it as end column pages. Okay. So now we have already the what do we have? We already have this route defined. So let's say that this city page load, what do we want to do? So we have our route name city, right? And mm, we don't need this. This is something which we copied from detail controller. So I say now we are selecting state. So I say state. Uh, right, so we are selecting state. Whenever this state route is called we call this method and this method has something like because earlier we just needed the we were just needing the country but now we need both, right? So let me just get, so we read the country and the state and then we call the new URL which is we passing the country maybe let me make it small. We are passing the country as well as state, right? And then along with it what we'll do is we are setting the model as cities, so which is perfectly fine. Rest all looks okay, right? And so we now have whenever this route will be called we are calling the JSON our postman dummy API and then it will fill the data and create the model. This model will be displaying the data here, which is perfectly fine, but we forgot one thing. So whenever you will click on state detail, then we have not defined anything, what will happen if you select a detail, right? So first we go to uh, detail view and what I will do is I'll add in place of country if we have choose any state. It is not on city press, it is on state press, right? Because whenever you click on any state we wanted to basically call the another route. Okay, so we have called it. So now what we will do is we'll define another one, right? And let me bring that. So we'll say on state press column function um, and then I will put a comma here. Then I'm getting the state from the basically the whichever state is clicked and then I call the route city and then this I am reading here and if you remember this underscore country we are already storing it in a local class attribute while we were reading from this when we navigated from country to state. Okay, I'll show you in debug. Okay, so now we have stored the value and we are passing it and then I think we are good enough, right? So let me just quickly first run through the things and then we will see what happens, right? So I go here and then I say let me just quickly check whether everything is saved. Yes, everything is saved. uh, so we have our country, we choose country India. We are good. So detail India, two column mid expanded. No data came. Why? Let's go to network, state, country, India. This was called right, but it did not return anything. Let's just let me see what happens in the source controller, detail controller, and on selecting country, let me just go back. I select India, so we get a country India, then I navigate to detail, which is fine, and but it did not trigger my this one, right? Detail India, and on selecting country, let me refresh it again and see. It is coming to the detail controller this, but then I am attaching on selecting country. Why it is not going there? Hmm. Ah, okay. The mistake is because I have defined two methods on selecting country, and so let's just so it goes here, and now it goes here where I have don't have anything. Okay, let me just quickly delete this thing. Yeah, and I hope it works. So we have that goes there, it goes here, and we have the data. Very good. So now let's just click on state. What is the problem? What is the problem? Oh, event is not defined on state press. Why on state press? Okay, so it doesn't have O event here. Okay, 1 second. I get O event here. Then will you work now? So we go here. We click on Punjab. Fuel. Okay, so we have not added the defined the dependency. So let me here we don't have Fury library, so we will copy it from our master controller Fury library, and I say uh, detail one, and I added it as a dependency, and now I think it shall work. So we have Punjab, this. I click here. Very good. You see here detail India. Okay. State is Punjab. Then three column bit expanded. And if I just close it, you can see this. You spend, I think, fair bit of time in understanding how this flexible column layout work. And we click here. Haryana is giving Haryana. 1 second. Might be. Yeah, we don't have any space here. So this I save it, and then I go here, I say hash, and I choose India, Punjab, Patiala, Mohali, Haryana, Ambala. Good. So I think we are done with our finally with our fourth project. I know it contains a lot of details and stuff. So let me just quickly run through it so that we understand what we have done. Okay. So let me make it a bit bigger. So we started with doing creating a Postman API. This is what we learned, right? That how do we create our own Postman mock server, right? And then then we said that okay, now we know how the Postman works. So we sort of exploring our new control, which is flexible column layout, right? Which is like which has hmm, it's on router, right? Similar to the general router, mobile hash based routing, right? but only thing is because we are loading three views in three different columns, so they have bit of a customization, right? And then we use the dynamic pages to add for three different views for country, state, and district, right? And then we basically used tables to display them, right? And then we used what do we do? We navigated, right? So the concept is very straightforward. You create your views. How do you pass data is similar to passing the via routing, and then this is how you can have different states. Like for example, um, where is it? So you can have state like you wanted to start from all three expanded, two expanded, and you can move around this also, right? So this is how we are done. So I think we are done with our fourth project finally, and time now to think about the fifth one. Might be, let's see, there are a number of options. We'll do that, and in case you have any queries, doubt, feel free to provide your feedback and comment. Thank you. Thanks for watching. Take care. Stay safe, and happy New Year. Bye.